Why would you answer this call? Why would you answer this call? Why would you answer this?
Hello. Hey, man. Yeah, so we're doing movie night again this week. Are you gonna come over?
Maybe.
Look,
it's gonna depend on.
I know it's been a rough few weeks.
I've had to actually seek some counseling for it. It's been pretty bad.
Look, I'm telling you, you're gonna love this movie. This one is awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to believe you after the last two shit shows you've made me watch.
Okay, this movie, Academy Award nominated actor.
That's what you said last week.
Guys from two of the greatest comedies of the 90s.
Oh, comedies of those.
I'm not going to get into that, but how about this? Do you like John Cena?
He's okay, I guess.
How about The Rock?
Like Dwayne The Rock Johnson?
Yeah, Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Yeah.
All right, you're going to love this movie. Just come over.
In this episode of You're Gonna Love This or Not, Matt brings Josh down to the SFP to watch the wrestling classic No Holds Barred. This 1989 Hulk Hogan vehicle tells the story of wrestling champion Rip and the television network that would do anything to have him wrestle for them. We're going to listen to the trailer, and then we're going to see if this 1 hour and 33-minute film was fun like a ride on the front of a motorcycle, or if it's just a chauffeur's pants full of dookie.
Hulk Hogan is ripped in the greatest challenge of his life. No ring. No rules. No referee.
This is an unprecedented display of strength and determination.
No holds barred. Rated PG-13. Starts Friday, June 2nd at theaters everywhere.
Matt, you son of a bitch.
Oh, come on. That movie was terrific.
No, that movie was terrible.
It was great.
You said, do you like John Cena and The Rock? And I was like, yeah, I like John Cena and The Rock, so maybe John Cena and The Rock will be in this movie, and it won't be that terrible. No. It was a bunch of really terrible wrestlers in this movie, mainly Hulk Hogan.
I just assumed you were into wrestling movies.
Oh, no. I don't know if we can even call it a wrestling movie. It was really, really bad.
Oh, wrestling movies aren't really, really bad?
I don't know if I can even answer that.
You got me. The Wrestler's terrific.
The Wrestler
Podcast over.
Good. Yeah, I mean, you can't really go wrong with that movie, though.
No, this movie's good. This movie was way, way, way better when I was 13 and it came out in theaters. I went to go see it opening night. I was one of maybe 5 people in my hometown theater, and I'm pretty sure I went to see it 2 or 3 times.
But there's only like 10 people in your hometown, so I mean that's like half the town.
That's true, and the only reason I got in was my dad was managing the movie theater. But still, I loved it, every minute of it. Had everything a 13-year-old boy wants, especially a skimpily cladded hot woman
with really cheesy lingerie.
Oh yeah. Like weird stuff no woman would probably ever wear.
Yeah, I've been in a bed with women on multiple occasions in my life, and I've never in my life ever seen a woman wear that kind of stuff to bed. It was bad.
To be fair, she wasn't trying to be attractive. She hadn't planned on sharing the hotel room with the Hulkster.
I think she actually was trying to be attractive. I think she set it up that way. I mean, her people did make the reservation.
That's true.
I mean, you don't just...
I never realized that.
You just don't sleep in that stuff?
I've seen this movie a dozen times. I've never made the connection that the single room was on purpose set up by her people.
Yeah, I mean, I know when I go to bed, it's like boxer briefs and a t-shirt. Like, I've never actually, worn a thong to bed like Hulk Hogan did. I didn't know that was a thing that people did. I can't imagine it being very comfortable. Also, doing push-ups off the bed to mimic what could be perceived as masturbation on the other side of a curtain. That was
the funniest joke in the world when I was 13.
The best thing ever. I mean, that's what we should definitely allude to in movies. And then she looks over and he's all like, oh, there's my butt and my body all oiled up. Because people go to bed with oil on them, too.
Also, Hulkster was wearing skimpier underpants than her at every point in the movie.
Pretty much the entire movie, his shorts were shorter than hers. So, I mean, I don't know if they were trying to draw the conclusions there or something, but I just, a lot of flaws in this movie. I mean, helicopter landing on a baseball field.
Okay.
People oiled up all the time, pretty much the entire time. It's like they just carry around oil and oil up their bodies. But yet, no dirt anywhere on anybody.
Well, that scene was going to bring me to another point. There are an awful lot of really, really homoerotic moments in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, he had a full-on chub.
Yeah, the showdown on the baseball field is really,
in front
really
of a bunch
awkward
of children,
to watch.
which to me seems a little inappropriate. But I mean, it was the '80s, so inappropriate wasn't really a word that we used.
Look, come on.
He may. And honestly, I think he might have borrowed the codpiece from David Bowie for that scene.
That doesn't surprise me either.
Except for that scene, his was about a third of the size of David Bowie's.
Yeah,
so.
you pointed it out to me. Well, steroids, you know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, you pointed it out to me. I'd never noticed before because I generally don't look at the junk in movies, but yeah.
I don't like to look at the junk in movies, but when it's that blazingly obvious, it's like...
All right, well, now that we've taken care of weird homoeroticism and Hulk Hogan's junk, let's talk about some of the other people in the movie, okay? You were not a fan of the main bad guy, Kurt Fuller, right?
Oh, no. It was all terrible.
Pellegrino
was the only saving grace this whole movie. He may be the reason why this movie boosts over Cannibal.
You're talking about Hulk Hogan's younger brother in this movie, or excuse me, Rip's younger brother, Randy.
Yeah.
And he's on screen for 6 minutes of this movie.
Maybe.
And he's completely unrecognizable, but when you look him up, he's in... What's he got? 100 credits?
Well, I mean, I know him as
Lucifer
from Supernatural.
Yeah,
that's how I know
when I looked him up, I was shocked because he's Jacob from Lost, and it blew my mind.
Yeah, I mean, once I realized who it was, he was more recognizable. But before that, I just thought he was another cheesy blonde-haired 80s actor that liked to surf. It is the lack of beard stubble, as our producer just pointed out to us.
Yep. I got to tell you, I would have thought that just being in this movie, being then that it was a wrestling movie, that did kind of tank when it came out, but kind of not. It came in at number 2 the week it debuted, right behind Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
But to be honest, almost any movie that would have previewed or debuted the same time as Indiana Jones' Last Crusade would have come in number 2.
It got crushed. I mean, no other movies came out that week because they did not want to be destroyed.
Yeah, I mean... If you want to be number 2 in the ratings, make sure you come out a week when a blockbuster comes out because no one else is going to put the movie out. That way you can claim number 2 in the ratings for a week.
That's right.
And then use the whole defense that, well, there's no way we're going to be Indiana Jones. So, like, of course we're number 2.
And speaking of number 2, this movie has a great line reading in it. In that fight scene, pretty close to the beginning, with the limo driver, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, no.
That's right. What's that smell? Dookie.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
It was terrible. I
think the worst part of this movie viewing experience is that it was terrible. That's first off, and then secondly, my glorious co-host here decided to feed us shitty tacos beforehand. So, which, to be honest, the smell from those shitty tacos was still better than this movie. So I guess. In all actuality, it wasn't that bad. The shitty tacos actually rank above this movie, which I didn't think was possible.
Well, I enjoyed both the tacos, and I enjoy the movie, for what it's worth.
Yeah, but they're called shitty tacos, though. That's what people call them.
I'm going to disagree because I love those tacos. I ordered 2 dozen of them tonight. They're going to feed me all weekend since you guys didn't eat any.
No, they're pretty much gone now. There's only like 4 left.
That's because they're not shitty tacos. They're awesome.
That's what they're
tacos.
Called, though. That's what they're actually called. That's what their nickname is. Shitty tacos.
Shitty tacos. Okay.
No, true story.
Well, let's talk about some of the other guys in this movie that you really didn't like. You didn't like Kurt Fuller, who most of you guys would know from, I don't know, a billion things. But to me, his most famous other role was that of Russell in Wayne's World from the infamous Pralines and Dick scene. And David Paymer is in this movie as one of his stooges. David Paymer went on after this movie. You would have thought it would have been career-ending, but no. 3 years later, he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor at the Academy Awards for Mr. Saturday Night. He was in the City Slickers movies. So between Wayne's World and City Slickers, you've probably got half the comedy box office of the 90s in there.
I think my favorite part of this movie was poor man's Andy Samberg, James Wood love child. That was probably my favorite. During the movie, it was kind of odd to see that when you first meet this guy, you're like, that guy looks like Andy Samberg. And you're kind of like, no, he's okay. But as the movie goes on, he becomes a shittier and shittier human being. And then all of a sudden you realize he looks kind of like James Woods, which to me is a pretty good dialogue for life because, like, you can start out life as Andy Samberg, which is a pretty beloved character.
You mean like old James Woods?
And then end your life as James Woods, which is not a very beloved character.
A cranky old weirdo.
Yeah, I mean, who loves candy?
All right, well.
Is easily fooled by candy in a box.
All right, well, one of the reasons this movie has a bad script, I would say. Would you agree? Bad script?
Bad anything. Literally
dialogue,
anything you put
weird,
after
clumsy
the word
names.
bad would very, very well describe this movie.
Terms like jockass
Yeah, that's a good one.
and bleeding the lizard
Yeah, I'm going to start using these terms in general conversation.
and yelling at a woman to go take a leak.
Yeah,
That's pretty awkward.
yeah.
But I have a theory on this because the story around this movie is that Vince McMahon, head of the WWF who produced the movie, and Hulk Hogan did not like the original script for the movie and went and got a hotel room between the two of them in Florida and rewrote the entire script in 48 hours. Yeah, I was going to say, in the 80s, there's no way
I'm
a
surprised
massive
it took
amount of
that long.
cocaine wasn't involved.
I think that me and any other person in the world could have written a better script in like 4 hours.
Well, Vince McMahon's got sort of a scatological hang-up. Even now, 30-some-odd years later, Vince has a storyline in the WWE currently about a manager who's constantly peeing his pants. The only thing that's missing is him saying, Dookie.
But wouldn't it be pissy?
Well, probably. But, this was the 80s. It was a more innocent time.
yeah.
Anyhow, you want to go higher or lower on the critic score on Rotten Tomatoes?
I don't even want to play this game.
Okay.
I want to talk more about how amazingly awful this movie was. Like the scene where he jumps out of a limo through what appears to be sheet metal over the sunroof, but like he couldn't kick the door open and he couldn't break the windows open, but all of a sudden now he can just like superhero landing coming out of the limo.
You're not even going to explain that his kicks were so incredibly powerful that they moved the limo across the center line?
Oh no, we're getting to that.
Okay.
No, and also that when he's kicking the door, it looks like somebody was taking a pointed rod and just hitting the door with it, and that's because it didn't make like a heel print or
Look,
like it just made kind of like someone hit it with a steel rod.
Rip
type
is
thing.
so strong and powerful that he just created these rods out of air with his kicks inside the limo. And that created the weird domey.
But then, in order to get the limo driver out of the limo, he was then able to somehow rip the door off its hinges.
Which, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but I think the door moves a little on its own before he even touches it.
Yeah, and he uses the mirror to rip it off. So instead of the mirror ripping off, which would be the logical thing to happen because mirrors aren't really made to stick onto cars, it rips the whole door off.
Well,
and
you heard it here. His problem with the movie is that the mirror didn't rip off first. Everything else, perfect.
No. So critic score higher than lower.
Oh, you want to go higher or lower? Okay, let's go 30%.
It's got to be lower than that. It's going to be higher because that's just the way my life works. But I would give it a lower than that.
Well, it is lower than 30%.
Whoa!
We'll go with 20%.
Are these critics previously fans of the WWF?
I can't tell you. I didn't read them all.
I mean, for my money, I'm going lower.
You're going to go lower. You're right.
Yeah. What?
Let's
12%?
go to 10%.
Oh, I was going to go to 12. That's what I was going to put 12% was my guess.
You were going to guess 12%?
Yeah.
It's lower.
What?
11% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes.
I was so close, though.
Yeah. Oh, what do you think audiences are like? Oh, I do have to give you a proviso. In doing some research for this episode, I did see at one point on Rotten Tomatoes, probably before the last 3 or 4 years, it did hold a perfect rating on Rotten Tomatoes of 0%.
Oh, it did?
Yep, joining Jaws the Revenge.
Wasn't there a movie that launched recently that had a 0% starting out?
I believe Holmes and Watson started out with that.
I was supposed to go see that movie. I'm so glad I dodged that bullet.
Well, we're probably going to end up watching it down at some point.
Yeah. I'll probably laugh just because I do love Will Ferrell.
Yeah, I love those two guys.
They're
How can it
pretty-
be that bad?
Yeah, I just can't imagine it. It can't possibly be worse than any of the movies we watched so far. Which I keep thinking that. And
You'd be surprised because they're pretty good, the movies we've watched so far.
No,
We've
they're-
barely
they're-
touched
they're-
the list.
They're terrible.
They are fun to watch.
You
might
really
not
should
like
have
the
done
movie,
this
but the
list backwards
experience
to
is
what
fun.
you thought you should have done. Like, you
Oh,
should
we're-
have started with the worst possible movies ever.
We're basically
built to the
randomly
ones that
hopping
you
through
thought
without
that I
hitting any
might
of the big
like.
ones. I didn't
Which
select
it
the movie
seems
this
like
week.
our producer had the same exact idea.
Our producer picked the movie
No.
off the list this week because I was
Oh.
looking for a genre that we hadn't really covered yet.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, pro wrestling movie? That covers the soul sports genre
Pro wrestling
for now.
movie is its whole genre.
Well, I don't
If
know.
you wanted to watch a shitty
action,
If you want to watch a
awful
shitty
80s
sports
action.
movie, you could have watched Ladybugs.
it does carry. No, I'm not doing Ladybugs. I don't know if you've seen Ladybugs recently. It's got a whole lot of Me Too issues.
Oh no,
Yeah,
it's probably pretty bad.
It's not a good movie.
No, it probably doesn't hold up at all.
Anyhow, audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. What do you think?
4%.
4%. I'm just going to tell you it's higher than 4%.
Oh, because there's a lot of dumb wrestling fans out there.
Well, I would take offense at that if I didn't think it was true.
I mean, the scene where they walk into the no rules bar or no holds.
What was it called?
I don't remember what it's called.
I don't know.
No, it wasn't, because that was too easy.
Yeah.
And no hold bar was like.
This is riveting podcasting.
Yeah, it was anyway. It's pretty bad. So our edit will
gonna
get
get
it
cut
later.
out.
Yeah. So they walk in, and the whole entire crowd for this wrestling quote unquote match is just a bunch of like tobacco stained, toothless hillbillies wearing nothing but coveralls and cut off shirts. Like, it was kind of weird, like how this whole movie had a very homoerotic vibe to it. Like, even the hillbillies were wearing like
a
very
lot of cut off tight t-shirts, that
yeah,
sort of stuff.
skimpy stuff. And the men, and not so much the women. Like, the women were more dressed than the men in this movie, which seemed a little odd for a movie that was catering toward a certain.
Well, when
clientele.
it got to the death matches, everybody wore tuxes and ball gowns and dinner jackets, that sort of stuff. It was a weird mix.
It was pretty.
I think it's who Vince McMahon wishes watches wrestling. It's
Yeah.
not true. I love wrestling, and I am one of those people.
I know you. I know you love I know you love wrestling, but I'm not a fan. So audience score.
Audience score
It's higher than 4%.
higher than 4%.
Well, I mean, 49 million people did vote for Donald Trump. So let's go 15%.
15%. It's higher.
What?
Yeah, higher than 15%.
Wow. What is it then?
Oh, why don't we go higher or lower than 20%?
Let's go higher.
Higher? 25%.
Let's go higher, Bob.
25%.
Let's go higher, Bob.
30%. You think it's higher or lower?
Oh man, 49% of the country did vote for Donald Trump. So
Oh, you can't keep saying that.
I can actually. So let's go with higher than 30%.
Higher than 30%?
Yeah.
It's higher than 30%.
Oh my goodness. Can I just guess and tell me if I'm right?
Go for it.
43%.
Lower.
Oh, how close was I?
You were off by a decent chunk there.
Okay, 36%.
Pretty close. 35. 35% audience score.
35% audience score.
And a lot of those are recent.
Yeah.
Probably 10 years ago, it wouldn't have been near that high.
No.
Unless, 13-year-olds in
I
1989.
like how Hulk
got
Hogan's
to-
fame just never dies. Like, and I've met him in real life.
Mhm.
He's not a nice person.
He gives off a vibe that he might
he
not
was-
be a
He
sweet
was-
man.
He was a dick. Yeah, I met him in the airport in St. Louis.
Yeah, I
Not
know
very
a
nice
few
person.
people that have met him. I really have not much desire, so.
Yeah, I was disappointed because I was like 18 at the time, so I was still a huge Hulk Hogan fan. And I was like, it's so cool. Hulk Hogan's in the airport. Like, I walked up to talk to him, and he just didn't want to talk to anybody.
I'd say, I'm of that breed that thinks, never meet your heroes, but then I've got a wall of autographed pictures back behind the bar down here in the Subterranean Fun
Yeah, but
Pit.
I've met
so.
Tony Troxel, and he's my hero, and I love him.
That's true. Tony is everybody's hero. If
I-
it weren't for him, we wouldn't even be here right now.
I do love him. He's an amazing man.
That's true. That's
I mean,
true.
the Indiana Geeking blog is one of my favorite things.
He's not going to edit this part out.
I hope he doesn't. If it wasn't for that Pat McAfee guy, he'd be number one.
Ooh, rough. I'm not sure what to say to that. That's yeah.
That part might get edited.
That's harsh. Harsh.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the third movie we've watched for the podcast.
Yeah.
Have you seen any of these three movies before?
No.
You'd never even seen this one before?
No.
Okay, well, eventually we'll probably hit something that you have seen, but for those of you listening, just so you know, Josh has no idea what movie we're watching. Even when we record the intro bumper phone call that's completely spontaneous and a real phone call we record for this and not something we discuss beforehand, he has no idea. So when we're keeping him guessing, we're really keeping him guessing.
I think if I had an idea, I probably wouldn't show up.
That's probably true, which is the reason we've kept the list secret from you.
Yeah, I'd still show up. I love you guys.
And also, if anybody out there has any suggestions, hit us up on our Facebook page or Twitter account. Let us know if there's a movie you think that I would love and Josh probably wouldn't, which shouldn't be too hard because I love most movies.
And I hate almost all the movies that Matt loves. So, anyways, what we do? 10 stars that we do?
Yeah, out of 10 stars.
How do you rate this movie?
How high do I rate this movie?
Yeah.
I really can't remember what I rated the first two, but I would say this movie is a better movie than Jaws the Revenge.
Okay.
Much worse than Cannibal the Musical.
I don't know if I can go much worse.
Much worse, because Cannibal the Musical is pretty high for me. I would give it a 7 or 8 out of 10. This movie I'd probably give a 5, and a Jaws the Revenge I'd probably give a 3.
So Cannibal Musical I gave a 0.92. I think I gave like 1.4, 1.5 to Jaws the Revenge, only because of Michael Caine. And I mean, you gotta love him. So this movie, I don't know. It was so bad it was kind of funny. So that kind of gives it a little bit of a boost.
Well, we're ranking the experience, not just the movie itself.
I know, experience-wise. I mean, we had shitty tacos.
You can't count the tacos.
No, I can't. It's the experience of it.
That will give Taco Night an unfair
Pellegrino
advantage.
in the movie. Really cheesy lingerie. So we're gonna go 1.3.
1.3.
Not quite as good as Michael Caine. Still better than Cannibal the Musical. So 1.3 is what we're going with on the out of 10 rating for this movie. I am really hoping to find a movie that beats Michael Caine. I don't know if it's going to be possible, though. We'll see what happens. Anyways, this has been fun.
All right. Well, I'm glad you had fun tonight. Glad you enjoyed the tacos. Glad you sat through the entire movie.
I did. I stood up a couple times, walked around, had to grab a couple more tacos.
It happens. That's what the pit is for.
Yeah, Subterranean Fun Pit.
Anyhow, we'll get back with you next time. We'll see what else we can torture with. Take it away, Tony.
This episode of You're Gonna Love This or Not was recorded at the SFP Studios located off of beautiful Eagle Creek Reservoir in Indianapolis, Indiana. It features Matt dragging Josh down into the dark depths of his movie collection and is released monthly on the Teen Geeking family of podcasts. It is produced by Mike Wycliffe, edited by Tony Troxel, and features music by Scott Holmes, who can be found on the Free Music Archive. Make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or the podcatcher of your choice, and please leave us a rating and review. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
I love you like Hulk Hogan loves Zeus.
I love you more than Vince McMahon loves cheap lingerie.
I love you like Hulk Hogan's tidy whities love his butt crack.
I love you more than Body Oil loves muscles.
I love you more than Kurt Fuller loves electricity.
I love you more than Mean Gene loves talking.
I love you more than limo drivers love Dookie.
I love you more than Jesse the Body Ventura loves things dangling off his face.
I love you more than Bill Eadie loves face paint.
I love you more than all the hillbillies in that bar love their chewing tobacco.
I love you more than that waitress loves nasal problems.
I love you more than Tiny's one eye loves the other one that's always trying to go towards it.
That's a bit cold. I love you more than I want to go to that urinal.
I love you more than Tiny loves the Raiders.
I love you more than an octagonal ring showing up on the screen a good 3 or 4 years before UFC.